everybody, today I'm doing a video to show you how I do my powder contouring. So as you can see, this is how I powder contour. It is really simple but very effective. This is what I use pretty much every day. This is what I use in all my photos on Instagram as well. People asking me what highlighter I use, what I use to do my contouring and bronzing. So if you want to see how I do my contouring, bronzing and highlighting, then keep on watching and I'll show you how I do it. Bye! So for your contouring, you can pretty much use any powder that is like a darker version of your skin color or a bronzer, presuming it's not too orange based and it's not got a lot of shimmer in it. So you can use anything like any of these here, except maybe this one here because it does have some sparkle in it, not that you can really see that. I usually use a mixture of this, which is Strata by MAC, and then depending on whether I fake tanned or how dark my foundation is or whether it's summer or winter, I'll either use one of these. But the one I'm going to use today is actually the Le Beige powder from Chanel. This is in the colour 30. So it's a nice kind of bronze colour without being too orange based, but it does give you that nice sun-kissed look. It's not got any shimmer in it, so it's quite a sheer matte colour. So the brush that I'll be using to apply it is this angled fluffy brush from Lime Lily. The reason you want to use something like this is because it does most of the work for you. So because it's angled, you can just place that, wiggle it around, pull it away and your job's done. So I'm going to take a little bit of this powder on my brush. Always tap off the excess because you don't want it falling down your cheeks. So I'm going to be applying this colour underneath my cheekbones. So if I had cheekbones, they would be right about here, and I want to make it look like I have bigger cheekbones or better cheekbones than what I actually do. So if you need to, you can suck in like a fish like this, and that will show you basically where your cheekbones are meant to be, but you can usually see roundabouts where they are. So starting here, you're going to be applying the depth of the colour directly under here. So where that smile line is, like when you smile, this line here, you don't want to go anywhere near that line, and definitely never go near that line when you're applying blush. But for the purpose of contouring, don't go near that line either. You're going to apply the bulk of the colour to the outer corner of your cheekbone here, blend it up and away, and then down and away, so like this. And you're just holding the brush on an angle and very gently blending up and away to nothing. So you don't need to worry about getting a clean cut, precise line just yet. You're basically just putting the foundations in place for your contouring. So it's kind of like an upside down triangle, so it's wider here and it kind of comes to a narrow point as you go down the cheekbone. You never want to have any harsh edges with your contouring, so make sure that you blend it away to nothing, but don't press hard, because if you press hard you're just going to move the foundation that you've got underneath and you're going to end up with a bit of a mess. So press very lightly and little feathery movements just to blend that out so there's no harsh lines. When you're working with powder, you always want to start with a fine amount and gradually build the colour up, because if you load your brush up and go in too heavy at the start, it's going to be very hard to remove that excess colour if you need to. So always start off with a small amount, because you can always apply more if you need to, but going too heavy and it's hard to take off. Something I should mention is that I am aware that my neck and chest is way lighter than my face. That is because my foundation at the moment is way too dark for my body. That was my summer foundation and I haven't actually bought my winter foundation yet, and it is pretty cold in Australia right now, so I have lost any resemblance of a tan, so I am like an albino at the moment with a brown face. But what I'm going to do is bronze up my neck and chest before I actually leave the house, so I'm not going to have a brown face and white body. Okay, so what we want to do now, we've got the basis of our cheekbone in place, but you want to make that look deeper. So you could leave it like this if you're in a rush or you're just going to work or you don't really want to go to too much effort, but if you want to get that real kind of cut crease cheekbone, like Kim Kardashian for example, then you're going to want to deepen that crease. So to do that, it's kind of the same deal as making a cut crease on the eyelid. So you start off with one shade and then you go in with a darker shade on the inside of that original shade to make it look deeper than what it is. So the colour I'll be using to make this contour here look darker is this one here. Now don't panic, I know that looks really dark, but we're literally going to be using the smallest amount on a very small angled brush. This brush is actually a fake MAC brush that I bought like when I was a teenager, but I love it. It's so good, it's so precise. But I do not condone buying fake products because you never know what you're going to get. But in this case, I got lucky. So I've taken the smallest amount of that dark brown matte bronzer. That was just a cheap one off eBay that I just used on myself. So any matte bronzer will do, as long as it's not too dark that it's going to completely look out of place on your face. So anyway, going in with the darker colour, we're going to be applying it from here up. So kind of steer clear of this area here. This is where you want the original colour to fade away to nothing. Up here is where you want that depth of colour, and that's where you want to create that real cut crease kind of cheekbone. So with the angled part of my brush, I'm gently running that along the bottom of my cheekbone. And then blending it away to nothing. If you feel like you need a little bit more colour, take a little bit more colour on your brush, tap off the excess, but remember, always working in fine amounts. Don't load up your brush with a lot of product and then try and put it on, because you're just going to end up looking a bit muddy, so always working in small amounts. And blend it away to nothing. There we go, so we've got a cheekbone. So I'm just going to do that on the other side, and then I'll show you how I contour the rest of my face. Okay, so my cheekbones are both done. Now for the rest of my face, I have actually already done a tutorial about how to contour for individual face shapes. So bear in mind that the contouring that I'm about to do now is based on my face shape. So if you have a different face shape to me, kind of adapt this to suit you, and that's the way it's going to look the most natural, and it's going to really highlight your own individual face shape and beauty. But I'll link that tutorial down below so that you can check that out if you feel like you need to. Otherwise, you can just do this. I'm just going to do a simple contouring for the rest of my face, because I wanted the main focus of this contouring to be the cheekbones. So what I'm going to do is take my Le Beige powder again, load up my original big fluffy angled brush, and I'm going to be applying this anywhere that the sun naturally hits. So that means the top of the forehead, bridge of the nose, tip of the chin, and then all the way down here. Now I know the sun doesn't actually hit here because my head's too big and it creates a shadow, but I'm white and this is brown, so I just need to even that up. So always tap off the excess, and holding my hair out of the way, I'm going to apply this to the top of the forehead. And remember, the powder I'm using is quite a sheer bronzing powder, so it's not easy to make a mistake with it. So don't apply your contour in here at all, because that's the area that you want to be highlighted. So although we're not going to actually highlight that, by applying a darker colour around the edge, it's going to naturally highlight that anyway. So I'm concentrating the colour above my temples, and really gently dusting that on. And I'm kind of blending it as I go. By applying this colour above my temples on the sides of my forehead, I'm actually going to make my forehead seem more narrow than what it actually is. So it's just doing a little bit of contouring on the sides of the forehead just to make it seem a little bit, more narrow. Applying a little bit of colour to the top of the forehead is going to give me that nice sun-kissed look, because that is a place where the sun naturally hits. I'm going to apply the smallest amount to the bridge of my nose. I'm not going to apply it to the tip though, because I want that to seem more highlighted, so it makes my nose look like it's got a curve to it. And I'm applying a tiny bit to the tip of my chin. You also want to apply this underneath the jawline, and that is basically going to create the illusion of that being very shadowy under there, which in turn is going to make your jawline appear more defined. And because my neck is white, I'm just kind of bronzing all the way down as I go. I really should have put fake tan on, but I completely forgot to last night. It was on my list of to-dos and I didn't do it. Anyway, I'll finish that later. So what I like to do now is highlight the top of my cheekbone. So you can use a powder illuminator to do this, or you can use a liquid illuminator. So I'm going to use a mixture of both. So the illuminator I'm using is this one here by Australis. I'm pretty sure you can only get this. Wait, I'm lying, it's not Australis, it's Face of Australia. Oh my god. This whole time I've been saying it's Australis and it's not. It's Face of Australia. It is against animal testing, which is brilliant in my book. And it is a perylized, light reflecting mineral formula with jojoba, vitamin C and E to highlight, nourish and soften the skin. So this is brilliant. If you live in Australia, definitely get your hands on this, because there is so much in here, a little goes such a long way, and you're probably never going to run out of it. So what I do is I take a tiny bit of this on the back of my hand, maybe a little bit more than that, so about that much, and then with a clean finger I just dab that onto the tops of my cheekbones, so just here. So So don't go anywhere around here, like the middle of your cheek. In a lot of women, that is where they produce oil, that's your T-zone. So that's where you get oily or shiny during the day. And if you apply highlight there, it's just going to exacerbate that. So only concentrate your highlight to the top of your cheekbone, on the outer edge of your cheekbone at the highest point. I'm going to stipple that in using this stippling brush, but you could always pat it in with your finger if you wanted to. I'm not going to rub it in because that's going to move everything that I've already put underneath that, so I'm just going to tap it in basically, kind of blending it out as I go. You can blend it down into your contour, just not too much, but you basically just don't want there to be any obvious lines, so just make sure you blend it away to nothing and leave the majority of the highlight concentrated to this area here. Now, any cream or liquid that you apply to your face, you must set in place with a fine dusting of powder. So you can use a translucent powder or your regular setting powder over the top of your highlight. I've actually already set the rest of my face in place with my setting powder. So what I'm going to use is a little bit of a highlighting powder, and I'm literally just going to set that highlight in place. So this, I know it looks like a blush, but it's not really, it's more like a highlight powder. But I'm going to kind of concentrate my brush onto this top section here, where it's more translucent and pearlized. Tap off the excess, and I'm just going to press my brush on top of where I've applied that highlight just to set the highlight in place. And because I'm using another highlighting product to set that highlight in place, it's going to emphasize that even more. Remember, if you are going to be using a highlighting powder to set your liquid highlighter in place, don't bring it anywhere near the T-zone. So this is my powder contouring finished. Obviously I didn't use entirely powder because I did use a liquid highlighter, but in general I was contouring with powder products. So obviously you can contour with cream products as well. They are brilliant if you have more of a dry skin. Because my skin is very, very shine prone and I'm really oily, I like to use powder products to contour and highlight with the exception of my little liquid illuminator. So if you want something that looks still really natural but is very easy to achieve and is not going to make you more shiny or more oily, then definitely give powder contouring a go. I hope you find this tutorial helpful. I will be doing a tutorial on how to cream contour as well, so once I've done that I will have it linked down below for you to check out. And as always, if you've got any questions, just leave them down below and I will get back to you. I do have an Instagram if you'd like to follow me on that. It is at Stephanie Lang Makeup, and I'll also have that down below. So I hope you all have a good day. Thank you for watching. Bye!